Verse 1-4. When Jesus came down from the mountainside, large crowds followed him. A man with leprosy came and knelt before him and said, "Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean." Jesus reached out his hand and touched the man. "I am willing," he said. "Be clean." Immediately he was cleansed of his leprosy. Then Jesus said to him, "See that you don't tell anyone. But go, show yourself to the priest and offer the gift Moses commanded as a testimony to them." Explanation: in biblical times, leprosy was a severe skin disease considered highly contagious and a cause of social isolation. It was also seen as a symbol of sin and impurity. Despite the social stigma, Jesus shows great compassion by touching the man, an action that would have been considered ceremonially unclean. By doing so, Jesus demonstrates that his power is not limited by the laws of ceremonial purity. Jesus shows his authority to cleanse both physically and spiritually. His words have power. This is a common motif in Matthew's Gospel. Jesus often instructs those he heals not to publicize the miracle immediately, possibly to avoid misunderstandings about his mission or to control the timing of his public revelation. Verse 5-13. When Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him, asking for help. "Lord, my servant lies at home paralyzed, suffering terribly." Jesus said to him, "Shall I come and heal him?" The centurion replied, "Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof. But just say the word and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell this one, go, and he goes, and that one, come, and he comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed and said to those following him, "Truly I tell you, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. I say to you that many will come from the east and the west, and will take their places at the feast with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the subjects of the kingdom will be thrown outside, into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Then Jesus said to the centurion, "Go, let it be done just as you believed it would," and his servant was healed at that moment. Explanation: a Roman officer who commands 100 soldiers, the centurion displays profound faith in Jesus' authority, even without Jesus needing to be physically present. This contrasts with the faith of many Israelites who require visible signs to believe. Jesus marvels at the centurion's faith, which is a model of trust and recognition of Jesus' divine power. He points out that such faith is rare among the people of Israel, and there will be others, Gentiles, who will be welcomed into the kingdom, while some Israelites may reject Jesus. The reference to people from the east and west emphasizes the inclusiveness of God's kingdom, extending to all nations, not just the Jews. The servant is healed instantly, affirming the power of Jesus' word. Verse 14-17. When Jesus came into Peter's house, he saw Peter's mother-in-law lying in bed with a fever. He touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she got up and began to wait on him. When evening came, many who were demon-possessed were brought to him, and he drove out the spirits with a word and healed all the sick. This was to fulfill what was spoken through the prophet Isaiah: "He took up our infirmities and bore our diseases." Explanation: Jesus shows his compassion in a personal setting, healing someone closely connected to his disciples. The fact that she immediately gets up and serves Jesus illustrates the thoroughness of her healing. The evening scene where Jesus heals many is a demonstration of his authority over both physical sickness and spiritual oppression. Matthew connects these miracles to the prophecy from Isaiah 53-4, showing that Jesus' ministry fulfills the prophetic expectations about the Messiah. Verse 18-22. When Jesus saw the crowd around him, he gave orders to cross to the other side of the lake. Then a teacher of the law came to him and said, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus replied, "Foxes have dens and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." Another disciple said to him, "Lord, first let me go and bury my father." But Jesus told him, "Follow me and let the dead bury their own dead." Explanation: Jesus warns that following him requires sacrifice and a willingness to give up comforts. Unlike earthly rulers, he does not promise a secure home or stability. The second interaction is startling. Jesus indicates that following him should take precedence over even the most important family obligations. This highlights the urgency and commitment required to be a disciple. Verse 23 to 27, then he got into the boat and his disciples followed him. Without warning, a furious storm came up on the lake so that the waves swept over the boat, but Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, "Lord, save us, we're going to drown." He replied, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. The men were amazed and asked, "What kind of man is this? Even the winds and the waves obey him." Explanation: this event demonstrates Jesus' divine authority over nature. He calms the storm with a simple command, showing that all creation is subject to him. Jesus rebukes the disciples for their fear and lack of faith. Despite witnessing many miracles, they still lacked trust in his ability to save them. The disciples' amazement at Jesus' control over the natural world highlights his extraordinary power and the growing realization of his divine nature. Verse 28 to 34. When he arrived at the other side in the region of the Gadarenes, two demon-possessed men coming from the tombs met him. They were so violent that no one could pass that way. "What do you want with us, Son of God?" they shouted. "Have you come here to torture us?" Before the appointed time, some distance from them, a large herd of pigs was feeding. The demons begged Jesus, "If you drive us out, send us into the herd of pigs." He said to them, "Go." So they came out and went into the pigs, and the whole herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and died in the water. Those tending the pigs ran off, went into the town, and reported all this, including what had happened to the demon-possessed men. Then the whole town went out to meet Jesus, and when they saw him, they pleaded with him to leave their region. Explanation: the encounter with the demon-possessed men further reveals Jesus' supreme power over evil spirits. The demons recognize Jesus as the Son of God, acknowledging his divine authority. Jesus allows the demons to enter the herd of pigs, and the pigs' destruction symbolizes the complete defeat of the evil forces. It also shows the destructive nature of demonic oppression. Despite the miraculous healing, the townspeople are more concerned about the loss of the pigs than the healing of the men, demonstrating their lack of spiritual understanding and fear of Jesus' power. They request that he leave, rejecting the presence of the Savior. Now let me tell you guys how we can use these verses in our daily life. Whenever we face difficulties or challenges, remember to approach God with faith, knowing that he has the power to intervene in our lives. Trust him for the outcome and be willing to follow his guidance. In your daily life, reflect on the centurion's faith. Trust in God's power even when circumstances suggest otherwise. Whether you are facing health problems, job challenges, or personal struggles, believe that God can intervene in ways you may not even expect. Also, practice humility like the centurion. Acknowledge God's authority over your life and approach him with reverence. Remember that Jesus cares about all aspects of your life: your health, your relationships, your emotional and spiritual well-being. When you are unwell or discouraged, go to him in prayer, knowing he cares and is willing to help. In times of healing and blessing, also respond by serving others as Peter's mother-in-law did. When you encounter challenges or storms in your life, whether emotional, relational, or financial, remember that Jesus is with you. Trust that he is able to bring peace and calm into your situation. Don't let fear overwhelm you, but instead focus on his power and presence in your life.